ZB.
Tell you what, I am utterly fascinated, have been over the last week while away from you guys and just watching what's going on. Utterly fascinated by how many people are breaking the lockdown rules in New South Wales at the moment. Every day what happens is when the New South Wales authorities report the numbers of new cases, they also include the number of those infected people who were running around town while they were sick. And some of these people running around town literally the entire time that they were sick. And every day that number is double digits. Today it was 20 infectious people running around town. Yesterday 34. Saturday 29. Now, that cannot all be a mistake, right? And then you add to it the 7 people who got together at a field to play soccer against the rules, suspiciously without a soccer ball. You've got the 3 removal guys who tested positive for COVID, knew they had COVID, and travelled from Sydney to regional New South Wales anyway. You got the crowds at Bondi who keep on ignoring the rules. You had the truck convoy blocking the Harbour Bridge in protest at the lockdown. The stuff just goes on. In just one day, they had 20 people charged who will now appear before the courts for breaking the rules. 240 people were given $1,000 tickets, and the cops are everywhere trying to enforce the rules. At this point, you've got to ask, why are these people ignoring the rules, right? And the only conclusion that I can come to is that they are just not seeing enough danger from COVID. They're just not seeing enough people dying to frighten them. In this particular outbreak that New South Wales is suffering, they've only suffered 4 deaths. 2 of them were people in their 90s, 1 was someone in their 80s, and 1 was someone in their 70s. Now, if you're a young person who is way less likely to die from COVID-19, looking at that, a whole bunch of old people dying is probably not sufficiently frightening. Now, this puts the authorities in a really awkward position, doesn't it? Because they now face the worst possible situation, which is a heavy, drawn-out lockdown that has to continue because it's not effective because too many people are breaking these rules. These guys have just gone into a full noise lockdown for the first time this pandemic. From today, even construction and building maintenance has been shut down. They are already more than 3 weeks into the lockdown, and the spread of COVID shows no sign of slowing. So now the fascinating thing is watching what happens next. Because this isn't sustainable, right? You can't run a heavy lockdown, the likes that we had, the first lockdown level 4 in New Zealand. You cannot run that thing if people just keep on ignoring it, thus rendering it ineffective. So, couple of options, I guess. Do they give up and just let COVID rip like some of their state politicians have suggested they should? Or do they stay in a semi-lockdown now for potentially months until they can finally roll out the vaccine?